This video breaks down exactly what happens to returned tools at Harbor Freight, and where they actually go after you hand them back at the counter. You're going to see it from the employee side, what they check, how quickly they decide what gets resold, what gets boxed up, and what never makes it back to the shelf. When a tool gets returned, most customers assume it either goes straight back on the shelf or straight into the trash. That's not how it works. In the first few minutes after that return hits the counter, its future is already being decided. By the end of this video, you'll clearly understand that process, and more importantly, you'll know how to properly check every tool you buy so you can tell what's truly brand new, and avoid picking up something that was simply repackaged after someone else returned it. Let's start with what happens the moment it's handed over. What happens when you bring a tool back? The moment you place a returned tool on the counter, the employee's job is to make a quick decision that protects the store. The first check is the receipt. Without it, the process changes. With it, they look at the purchase date, the payment method, and whether it's still inside the return window. Then comes the condition check, not a deep inspection, a fast one. They look at the box first. Is it torn, crushed, or missing? If the box is intact, that increases the chances it can go back out for resale. If the packaging is gone, that already lowers its value in the system. Next, they open it. They check for obvious signs of use. Dust inside vents, scratches on the base plate, oil residue on moving parts, missing accessories, batteries swapped. Even small things matter. If anything is missing, it cannot be treated as new again. If it's clearly broken, the process changes again. At that point, it's no longer about resale. It becomes a return classification decision. What most customers don't realize is this: the employee is not just approving a refund, they are assigning that tool a path. In those first few minutes, it's already being mentally sorted into one of several categories: resell, discount, send back, or scrap. And that's where the real system begins. How employees decide if it can be sold again. After the refund is approved, the real judgment call begins. And this is where things get less clear-cut than most customers think. The inspection isn't done by a technician, it's done by a store employee, sometimes experienced, sometimes new, sometimes working through a long line of returns at the end of a shift. That matters more than people realize. The first check is completeness. Is everything in the box? Manuals, guards, charging cables, extra fittings. If something small is missing, it depends on who is holding the tool. One employee might mark it incomplete and remove it from resale. Another might think it's minor. It's fine, and move it forward. Then comes functionality. Most stores don't run full stress tests. A power tool might get plugged in for a few seconds. If it spins, it passes the quick check. But that doesn't mean it performs correctly under load. It doesn't mean it won't overheat after 10 minutes. It just means it powered on during that short test. And this is where subjectivity comes in. Cosmetic wear is judged by eye. Light scratches, slight discoloration, a grip that feels a little worn. One employee might see normal handling, another might see used. There isn't always a strict measuring tool. It's human interpretation. Even noise evaluation can vary. A grinder that sounds slightly rough. Is that normal break-in noise, or is it bearing wear? That call is made in seconds, often by someone who isn't a mechanic. Safety checks also rely on visual judgment. Cracked plastic, bent guards, minor housing separation, some issues are obvious. Others are borderline. And borderline decisions depend on who is standing there. The pressure of time plays a role too. During busy hours, inspections move faster. During slow periods, they might be more thorough. That inconsistency can change outcomes. So, while there is a system, it isn't automated. It isn't laboratory testing. It's people making fast decisions based on what they see, what they've been trained to look for, and how much time they have in that moment. That means two identical returned tools could end up in two different places, depending entirely on who handled them. And that's why what lands on the open box shelf isn't always as simple as good or bad. The open box shelf, what you're really buying. This is the section that attracts bargain hunters first. The open box shelf looks like opportunity, slightly damaged packaging, a reduced price tag, a tool that still works. It feels like you're beating the system. But here's the reality on the ground. Most tools that land here were returned for a reason. And that reason isn't always written on the tag. Sometimes it's simple. Wrong size, changed their mind, bought two by mistake. That does happen, but many returns happen because something didn't feel right. Maybe the drill stalled under pressure. Maybe the grinder vibrated more than expected. Maybe the battery drained too fast. Maybe the saw overheated halfway through a job. And here's the important part. The store doesn't always investigate why it was returned. There isn't a technician sitting in the back diagnosing each issue. There isn't a full teardown. There isn't a performance test under load. Most of the time, the inspection is visual and basic. Does it power on? Does it spin? Does it look intact? If yes, it moves forward. That means a tool returned for performance inconsistency could easily pass the quick check. A tool that struggles only under real work conditions will not reveal that problem during a short idle test. Another thing most buyers don't consider is how much detail gets lost during a return. Customers often say, "It didn't work, that's it. No explanation, no demonstration, no detailed report." Once the refund is processed, that tool is just another unit to classify. And the employee processing it may not even know the full issue. They are moving quickly. There are other customers waiting. They are following store procedure, not running diagnostics. Now add another layer. Employees vary. Some are strict. Some are lenient. Some are experienced with tools. Others are not. If someone handling the return doesn't fully understand what normal performance sounds like, they may miss subtle warning signs. A slightly rough bearing noise might sound fine to one person and questionable to another. Time pressure matters too. During busy hours, inspections get faster. Faster inspections mean fewer details noticed. So when you stand in front of that open box shelf, understand this. You are looking at tools that passed a short human judgment test, not a durability test. There's also another uncomfortable reality. Some customers use tools heavily for a short project and return them afterward. That tool may have already done real work. Internal components may already have experienced stress cycles. You cannot see that from the outside. The casing may look fine, the trigger may click smoothly, but internal wear doesn't announce itself until later. And once you buy it, the responsibility shifts to you. The discount might look appealing, but if it's small, you're accepting unknown history for minimal savings. That trade-off isn't always smart. That doesn't mean the open box shelf is always bad. It means it's unpredictable. It's a risk decision, not a guaranteed value section. And if you don't approach it carefully, you might be buying someone else's problem, just wrapped in a cheaper price tag. Now let's move away from what gets resold and talk about something different, the tools that get replaced instead of refunded, and what happens to the broken ones after that swap. When a tool gets replaced instead of refunded, not every return ends with cash going back to the customer. A lot of times, especially with extended protection plans or within certain return windows, the customer walks out with a replacement instead. Quick swap, same model, new box, done in minutes. From the front counter, it looks simple, but the broken tool that gets handed over doesn't go back to the shelf. And this is where the system shifts again. When a tool is clearly defective, not just cosmetically used, but actually malfunctioning, employees don't debate resale. It gets classified differently. Some are marked for return to distribution. Some are logged under warranty exchange. Some are pulled aside for bulk processing. The key detail most shoppers don't see is this: the store isn't repairing that unit in-house. There's no technician bench in the back of most locations. The employee tags it, logs it, and it enters a different stream. What stream it enters depends on store policy, vendor agreements, and internal cost calculations. Some defective tools get boxed and shipped back to a warehouse in batches. Others get credited through internal accounting and later liquidated in bulk. And some, especially heavily damaged or unsafe items, are flagged and removed from resale entirely. But again, human judgment plays a role. If a customer claims a tool overheats, but it powers on fine at the counter, the employee has to decide, is this clearly defective or does it look functional? In some cases, borderline issues may still move through the replacement cycle without deep verification. The store's priority is speed and customer satisfaction at the counter. The back-end handling is about cost recovery and liability control. Now, here's why this matters to you. A tool that was swapped under warranty doesn't automatically mean it was completely dead. It just means the customer wanted a replacement. The original unit may still power on, it may still spin, but it may also have had an issue that wasn't obvious during a short test. And depending on how it's processed later, that unit could end up in bulk resale channels outside the store, not necessarily destroyed. Before we go deeper into where those bulk shipments go and what really happens in the back room, if this breakdown is helping you understand how these systems work, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps the channel keep doing real-world investigations like this. Now, let's step away from the counter entirely and talk about the area most customers never see. The back room, what most customers never see. Once a returned tool leaves the counter, it doesn't just sit there, it goes into the back room, and this is where the sorting becomes more serious. Back there, returned tools are separated into categories, not casually, deliberately. There are bins or designated areas for different outcomes: resale candidates, warranty exchanges, warehouse returns, damaged goods, and scrap. Employees don't make these decisions randomly, but they also don't have unlimited time to analyze each item. The first thing that happens is tagging. The return is logged in the system. The reason code matters. Defective, opened, changed mind. Those short descriptions follow the product through the rest of its path. Then comes batch handling. Tools rarely move alone. They're grouped. Multiple returned drills, several grinders, a stack of generators. When enough accumulate, they're processed together. This speeds up workflow, but reduces individual attention. The focus shifts from what's wrong with this specific unit to which category does this group belong to. Here's where the negative reality shows up again. In high-volume stores, space is limited. Returns take up room. Managers want that space cleared. That means quicker sorting. Quicker sorting means less deep inspection. If something isn't obviously unsafe, it usually moves forward in the system. It's not disassembled, it's not stress tested, it's not evaluated the way a professional repair shop would evaluate it. There's also cost logic involved. The store has to decide, is it cheaper to ship this back, discount it, liquidate it, scrap it? Every decision is influenced by labor time and shipping cost. If testing a tool thoroughly would cost more in employee hours than the tool is worth, it won't happen. That's just retail math. Another thing most customers never consider is inventory accounting. Once a tool is returned, it becomes a problem unit in the system. It has to be reconciled. The store doesn't want those numbers sitting unresolved. So it moves through the pipeline quickly. And the faster it moves, the less scrutiny it often gets. Some items are clearly unsafe. Cracked housings, burn marks, broken guards, those get flagged immediately. But borderline items? Those rely on visual judgment. If it looks fine, it often advances. By the time a tool leaves that back room, its next stop is already decided. Either it's heading back to a warehouse, entering a bulk return stream, or being prepared for removal. And some of those streams lead to places most buyers never even think about. Let's talk about where those tools go when they leave the store completely. Tools that get sent back to the warehouse. Not every returned tool stays in the store. Once enough units pile up in the back room, they're packed into larger shipments and sent back to a regional warehouse or distribution center. Customers never see this part. The tool disappears from the store, and that's the end of it, at least from that location's perspective. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the tool. When tools are sent back, they're usually grouped under return codes: defective, customer dissatisfaction, opened, damaged packaging. Those codes matter because they determine what happens next at the warehouse level. Now, here's where it becomes less transparent. At the warehouse, the tool may be evaluated again, but not necessarily individually. High-volume retail means bulk processing. Pallets come in loaded with mixed returns. The goal is efficiency. Some units may be routed for refurbishment programs. Some may be redirected into liquidation channels. Some may be written off as loss, but not every tool is opened and carefully tested again. That would require labor time that doesn't always make financial sense. If a product category has a known issue pattern, batches might be reviewed more closely. But if not, many tools move through system-level decisions rather than hands-on mechanical inspection. And here's the uncomfortable part. A tool that was returned because it underperformed might not show obvious damage. It might still power on. It might still spin. In bulk handling, those units can end up in secondary resale markets outside the original store environment. That means the life cycle doesn't necessarily stop at returned. It just changes channels. From a cost perspective, retailers aim to recover value wherever possible. Scrapping everything would be too expensive. So, tools move, sometimes quietly, into other inventory streams. And once they leave the original store, customers have no visibility into where they land next. But there's an even more final outcome for some returns, because not every tool gets a second life. Some never make it past the system at all. Let's talk about the ones that get stripped down or thrown away entirely. Tools that get stripped for parts or thrown away. Not every returned tool gets resold. Not everyone gets shipped back. Some reach the end of the line faster than people expect. When a tool is clearly unsafe, heavily damaged, or financially not worth processing, it doesn't move forward. It gets pulled aside for disposal. Now here's the part most shoppers never think about. Sometimes it's cheaper for the company to destroy a tool than to spend time testing it, repairing it, repackaging it, and redistributing it. Labor costs money, shipping costs money, storage costs money. If the math doesn't work, the tool doesn't survive. For power tools, certain issues trigger immediate removal. Cracked housings that expose internal wiring, burn marks from overheating, strong electrical smell, melted battery contacts, broken safety guards. Those don't get debated, they get flagged. Batteries are another major factor. Lithium-ion packs that show swelling, leakage, or overheating signs are treated seriously. Those don't go back into resale streams. They're separated for disposal according to safety procedures. But here's where the negative reality still applies. Not every internal issue is visible. If a motor is weakened but still spins, that may not qualify for immediate scrap. If a gearbox has early wear but no visible damage, it might move further down the chain before anyone realizes it. Stripping for parts happens when a unit is too damaged to sell, but contains salvageable components: batteries, chargers, cords, external housings. Sometimes these are retained to support internal replacement inventory. Sometimes they're grouped into bulk liquidation pallets. And then there are the tools that are simply written off, destroyed, disposed, removed from the system entirely. Customers assume retail always tries to resell everything. That's not accurate. Retail tries to recover value where possible. But when risk outweighs recovery, removal is the safer option. And this is where the entire return system becomes clear. Every returned tool follows one of several paths: quick resale, discounted shelf, warehouse batch, secondary channel, or disposal. None of those paths include full diagnostic testing, the way a repair technician would approach it. Most decisions are fast, visual, cost-driven. And that brings us to the final and most important part for you as a buyer. Because once you understand how this system works, you stop looking at returned tools the same way. Let's talk about what smart buyers should actually do with this information. What smart buyers should do with this information. Now that you've seen how the system works from the inside, the real question is simple. How should you approach returned tools? First, understand this clearly. Returned does not automatically mean bad, but it also does not mean safe value. It means unknown history. When you look at the open box shelf, stop thinking discount. Start thinking inspection. Check the cord carefully. Look for stiffness near the base. Bend it slightly and feel for cracking. That's where stress shows first. Spin moving parts by hand before plugging anything in. Listen for grinding. Feel for resistance. Look at screw heads. If they show marks, the tool may have been opened before. That's a red flag. Smell the vents. Burnt odor means heat. Heat means internal wear. If it's battery powered, check the contacts. Look for discoloration or uneven wear. And most importantly, compare the discount to the risk. If the price difference is small, it may not be worth the uncertainty. Saving a small amount doesn't justify inheriting someone else's problem. Another smart move is timing. Early in the week, after busy weekends, the return shelf often has more inventory. That increases your chance of finding genuine change-of-mind returns instead of long-sitting leftovers. Also, know the category you're buying. Simple hand tools carry lower risk than high-speed power tools. A returned hammer is very different from a returned angle grinder. The key is this: don't trust the label alone. Trust your inspection. Once you understand that employees are making quick visual decisions under time pressure, you stop assuming the system guarantees quality. It guarantees process, not perfection. And that's the takeaway. Returned tools at Harbor Freight don't follow one simple path. Some go back to the shelf, some go to the warehouse, some get liquidated, some get stripped, some get destroyed. But none of them come with a detailed history report. So if you choose to buy one, make sure the final decision isn't based on a tag. It's based on your own evaluation. If this breakdown helped you see the system differently, like and subscribe for more straight explanations like this.